Hi there, welcome to John's Workshop. This is part 3 of my Lamborghini Countach build and my AI talks. Anyway, let's start on the next part. Okay, I got everything sorted here, so let's get started. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit more about the LLMs and how they're going to, I guess, be used probably going forward, and what the expectation is as far as getting them to, getting the right data into them to do the things that they're talking about AI doing. So, as you may have heard or not, you're starting to hear about agents. Agents is probably the big, or I'd say agents is a big deal right now, mainly because it is the most useful of the tools that is coming out of AI right now, and they can charge money for it. It is useful for letting developers be able to just kind of essentially assign a task to the AI to do and be able to let it work on that task or multiple tasks and let it just do that, right? They can charge a lot of money. They're starting to charge a lot of money for that ability to use the AI tools in these agents. And we're talking, this is the $200 a month charges that you've heard about from OpenAI, maybe even Claude Code and Gemini. They want to they're using it to get paid now. They're really pushing the charges quite a lot right now. Even Microsoft is gonna start kind of putting more charges on Copilot to make, because they're getting charged for using all the LLMs. They're doing a lot of hosting, but LLMs outside of the OpenAI LLMs, they're getting charged for. So they definitely are trying to mitigate the expenses by getting more money from customers who are using these agents to do work. Now, and the thing is, they are doing work, and it is, you could say it is less money than hiring a person to do it, but they're limited in what they can actually do, right? The short term, they're helpful for a senior dev to kind of ramp stuff up quickly, but when you start getting into something more complicated, it doesn't know how to do it. And the AI companies are jumping on getting money now. They're trying to get the money now because there may not be as much money in it later. The agent functionality, and possibly because the agent functionality is eventually probably going to be available openly. Microsoft has been pushing, the recent open sourcing of the VS Code, some of VS Code functionality. I think it's just going to be a matter of time before they allow the use of agents, as in the use of the agent functionality, similar to the way they have the Ask functionality, be able to use a local LLM like Ollama to be used. And when that happens, then you're going to see people are going to be able to use their own LLMs to be used as agents, and they won't necessarily need to spend $200 a month to use OpenAI or Gemini as their agent. Now, OpenAI, Cloud Code, they're ahead in as far as what their AIs can do. They have better understandings. Their algorithms are better. Their trees or neural nets are better because they've been working on them, and they're not open source, so they're just better. But as we've been seeing, if you've been using them, a lot of times they get very similar answers. If you ask them the same questions, you can get very similar answers. And because the people who are using it right now, the people who are using it extensively are developers, a lot of that development information was already stolen or is openly available on GitHub. So they either have the information already in the LLMs that are freely available, like Llama, even the Gemma, that once people can make their own agents and have that within a VS Code, I think that's when you're going to see these prices are going to be a problem, because they're going to become to a point where it's not effectively helpful to have those high prices. And that's primarily because of Apple having made these M4 chips actually very powerful to actually be able to do local processing of these LLMs. It's actually impressive that how much you can get out of them. So if you can spend, what is it? I think it's something like $4,000. You can get a good M4 Mac Mini that can probably do what you want it to do. And, oh, that's the wrong way. And then you can just, run your own LLM and run your own agent and not have to pay. And it might be good enough, right? And then you can kind of just use to do, it might be good enough to just do some coding, and then you can, okay, that's supposed to go that way, yeah. You can use it to do some of the coding, and then maybe you, as what's been kind of developing, is that you can use a Claude Opus or Gemini to do some planning for you. So you get it to write plans, and then that's what you spend the money on. It generates you a plan, you spit that out, and then you feed it into your local LLM to execute the plan. And then you can come back after things are built and maybe feed that into a Claude Code to do an analysis or whatever to confirm everything is good, or if you need troubleshooting done, right? So there's going to probably be a bit of workflow. There's already workflows, people are already developing workflows like that. They don't want to pay the $200 a month. They want to use the free tier, right? So that's already happening. I think it'll become more prevalent, and this is why they are trying to charge money, and they're really pushing agents right now. That's what the recent Microsoft build was heavily talked about, agents. It was really what they were talking about, because they, particularly Microsoft, is well positioned to take advantage of everything around AI, regardless of whether or not it is freed up. If people want to make agents and you need to host the agent somewhere, well, guess what? You can do that on Azure. So that's what you're kind of looking at from Microsoft. I would not be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised to see them decide to open source that, or allow agents to be built for VS Code directly. They are trying to compete with what's going on with the Windsurf cursor situation, those forks of VS Code, and they've already been trying to lock some stuff down, I guess. So to prevent those extensions from being working for some of these forks. So that's interesting, but Microsoft is really positioned well to take advantage of that. Now, I was paying attention to the Apple WWDC keynote this morning, and they are not really pushing AI so much, and they're kind of getting roasted a lot for it. People are really kind of disappointed. They don't understand why they aren't doing more. Like, they have a processor, they have these chips that are just like super well positioned to like do AI and they're not like really pushing it so much. And I think that is because this is kind of the Apple way. For anyone who jumps all over them, this is the Apple way. They kind of wait. These AI tools are still, this is still early days. It is very early. Remember, like, BlackBerry was out for how many years? You had all those mobile phones out for how many years? And then Apple comes in like 10 years later after all these phones come out. They release a phone and they just absolutely dominate the market, right? Immediately. And have dominated ever since. So before anyone is jumping all over Apple too much that their AI tools are not good enough, they aren't right now. They are just dabbling. They're not committing to anything yet, because I would not be surprised if they buy one of these companies. Now, they can't buy OpenAI. They are working with OpenAI because that's probably an easy one to be working with right now. But at some point, decide they just want to buy Claude or Anthropic. I don't know if they can't, like, Google's the only other one. Google and Microsoft are in their own league. So Google and AI have the advantage that they have a lot of data they have access to feed or prove what they're doing with some of these AI tools, right? And they have a lot of customers. They have a lot they can do. And Anthropic doesn't. And Apple doesn't have the AI tools that Microsoft and Google are building. So it's like, that's kind of a fit. Okay, what did I do wrong there? Oh, I see, it's just turned. Okay. So because of that, I kind of think that that's going to happen at some point. Now, maybe not, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Apple gunning to buy Anthropic or some sort of partnership there to have that happen. Anthropic doesn't have the access to the amount of data that, like, Apple has access to lots of data, with their entire ecosystem, the AI companies would love to have access to, but no one's getting access to that stuff. And you gotta remember also, like, Meta's building their own stuff, like Amazon's building their own stuff. The only one who's not really building their own stuff has been Apple, other than, you know, just building awesome chips to actually run this stuff. So it's interesting. That's what they're doing. They're building the hardware. They're the only other company, really, that is building that kind of hardware for the consumer. Like, you have NVIDIA and them, and then the Microsofts and Googles are building the stuff for their servers, but they're also just using a lot of NVIDIA chips. So we will see if that comes to pass, if they decide that they need to at some point purchase a company like Anthropic. And we've already seen OpenAI is trying to buy Windsurf because they want to get an editor, which is interesting because they're working with Microsoft. Why do you need an editor? Why do you need a VS Code editor? There's already VS Code, right? So, oh, I have 2 of these left anyway. This goes here. Oh, they go up here, I see. Oh, there we go. Almost missed them. Anyway. Okay, well, that has been part 3 of my Lamborghini Countach build, along with just a discussion about kind of what I see as a future for what's going to happen with some of these AI companies and how maybe their things are going to work out. Anyway, if you would like to see more and hear more about AI, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and take it easy.